Yo, Adam is back from all the way across the world, man, dude. First, I gotta know, have you recovered from this world
yet? Bro, it's the time zone screw me up, man, a little bit. I tell you, it was like 30 hours going. It was like almost 25 hours coming back. It might have been okay when I was 20 something. It's not okay at 50 something, bro. It is not meant to happen. But it's all good, man. It was so many awesome people over there. Just amazing to meet up with, just incredible people building incredible stuff. I mean, we'll talk offline about some crazy stuff people are building, but it's amazing. And I do want to report back once again, even in the NFT space, man. The adoption is just, we are so early. I did a poll as I was doing a talk and asked people like, what percentage, just hand raised, how many of you use an NFT as your PFP? Bro, it's like 5% of people. How many people use an ENS name? Maybe 10%, not even that. So we are, even within our own community, we are still very, very early on the adoption curve, man.
We're going to be early forever, it seems like. never freaking ending. For those that were here last week, Adam had tuned in. Where was that? Is that Estonia, where NFT Tallinn is? I believe it's something like that. I think he might have froze, but I'll move over to everybody else. Dogfather, what's good, bro? Good morning.
Hey, what's good? What's good? Yeah, I was not traveling, but I was following what's going on in Tallinn, so that was really looking cool. So it's somewhere in Eastern Europe, right? So just if you want to pin it down, one of the Baltic states. But they're very, very, I mean, honestly, in Europe at least, they're really advanced in terms of crypto and also all kind of digital stuff. So they're a small country, but they are really like ahead of the curve typically. So this week I was doing some research. I mean, the first time I wrote a Medium article since like 9 months or so. So that's really a long time ago. But good to do that again, to, concentrate a few hours on one thing. So maybe talking about that later.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's actually something that I want to ask you about before I tune in with Ethord. I saw you posting about these BrrrrrrrrrC20s, those big purchases that may or may not be a wash trade, or at least it's inferred. Can you give me some detail on that before I move to everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, this is, just you never have really 100% hard evidence that something is a wash trade. But, people were talking about these 32 and 35 BTC audit trades, 50,000 units. And then I was just having a look at some transactions back and forth. And it was just, it was one address selling both. And then, I mean, this was selling the audits for, let's say, 32 BTC. And then, looking at the buyer's address, then like roughly 32 BTC were bouncing back an hour later. And that with the 35 BTC sale, it looked the same. And I mean, that was just raising a few question marks. And I was just, putting that together and just like presenting that without, judging it. And I don't know, maybe there's some good explanations for that, but it looked a bit, suspicious, I would say. I mean, at the end, everyone can do whatever they would like. I mean, they're paying the 2.7% fee on this wallet. And, if they like to do that, I mean, they were making 1 BTC roughly on these trades each. So, I mean, would be interesting to know more about. I think Leo is way deeper into these type of kind of spheres. To me, it's like I can stand 37 Matic, somewhere, and not BTC. So, but it was interesting because it was catching a lot of attention, and so it would be interesting to know a bit more about these larger trades.
And no better business to be in right now than being the BRRRRC20 business, making 2.5%, 2.7%, dude. These guys are freaking raking it in, dude. Ethor, GM, man, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on? So what's up with Twitter hating laptops or computers, by the way, at least for Spaces? Because for the longest time, I could never even join a Spaces on my computer. And now I could, so I tried to, and it won't let me use the mic and, join the stage unless I'm on my phone. I just think that's silly. maybe the new CEO in a couple of weeks will change that.
Yeah, they are severely disrespecting the desktop, although most people are on their phone. I think it's like 85% of people are doing everything from their phone. Before I say GM to Leo, make sure everyone retweets this space. I pinned it to the top, the Emblem Vault. Make sure you share so everyone can get in here, so we get in some of the juicy details that we're going to dive into here in a second. Leo, GM, man, how's it going?
TM, yeah, dude, Father, I was just looking at your tweet there. It's interesting stuff. Like, I kind of just assumed like that. Yeah, I mean, there's all of these like whales who minted a bunch of ordi that I assumed were just kind of like, you know, selling off their ordi. But yeah, that's interesting stuff. There's definitely interesting aspects to these markets, and it's not completely transparent what's going on. We definitely see wash trading in the NFTs and other meme coin spaces, so it's not shocking that this sort of thing might be happening here. But yeah, in general, I would say like the egregious examples of wash trading or like fake data would be where you see some stats where like there's some crazy volume on some new protocol or something, and then you go to Twitter and there's like 3 tweets in the world about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least we're matching with like the organic interest seems to match somewhat with the volume. Like, I'm not shocked that, a protocol that has, 9 of the top 10 crypto exchanges in the world tweeted about it in the last month. It's got like, a little less than $500 million market cap. I don't know. It's not like that's nothing. I'm not seeing any metrics that are just seeming super out of whack from the perspective of, what I'm seeing on like Twitter and the number of users I'm seeing and what we're seeing with inscriptions. I'm seeing like mostly healthy, organic things seem pretty legitimate.
Yeah, so I pulled up here on the screen Ord.io. Dude, Leo, you guys have done a fantastic job with this website. It really feels like, I know you keep saying Spotify, but to me, it seems more like Reddit. Just the next iteration of it. So maybe here
Spotify is kind of a joke. I mean, we had I think Wow's thing could build Spotify, and like we do have an audio tab, so we're making progress. But we got a little work to do. We've got some other features users have requested as well. So
it looks like the BRRRRC20 is kind of going through correction right now. Ordi is the leader, which has almost half, maybe a little bit more than half the market cap at $287 million market cap at $13. I know when it got listed on Gate.io, it shot up to at something like $40 or something insane like that. I know there's been some indexing issues with the different providers having different information, so there's some fluctuation in the prices. This morning, I saw Unisat had said that they're partnering with OKX, with Huobi. I don't know if there's anyone else to, I guess, help figure out this decentralization issue for this indexer. It seems every time I go onto one of these spaces, it's becoming, or some of the voices are becoming more loud about how big of an issue this really is. Just for like a quick, I guess, summary, Leo, could you just tell us like what the main issue of that is? And also, what are your opinions on Unisat partnering with exchanges as the source of truth, right? Aren't we supposed to move away towards a decentralized model? Now we're just putting the hands back in the centralized exchanges.
Yeah, so look, these same conversations just keep coming up. We were having the conversation about where should state live, whether it should live in the indexer or should it live in some sort of social consensus or should it live on the blockchain? These are questions that we've been having for a while because we've had these like sort of inscription number questions coming up with people making these arguments that we should include certain inscriptions, exclude certain inscriptions. That's been happening for a few months now. And yeah, I mean, look, it's a very interesting question. It's not clear where the ball is going to land on that. Like, I don't, I've gone back and forth on this a couple times, to be totally honest with you, Jake. But yeah, I think ultimately what you strive for is to have an indexer that works perfectly. And if the indexer works perfectly, then the state matches the blockchain and everything's cool. The problem arises where if the indexer was implemented in such a way that there was a bug, obviously unintentionally, you end up in a scenario where the state of the blockchain is mismatched from the state of the indexer. So everybody is relying usually on just one indexer at the moment. So we have like Casey's indexer for ordinals. We have this like Unisat open source indexer for BRC20. What I would like to see us do is move to a world where we've got many implementations of indexers, and it becomes immediately apparent if the indexers are not aligned. And we could actually do someone could build a very simple tool. We have, a dozen indexers implemented, and we could just be running all of them. And you could basically have a tool that just checks like, hey, is everything aligned? Are we getting the green checkbox right now, or is there a mismatch? And if there's a mismatch, just highlight that. It's actually a trivial product to build if somebody wants to come along and build like an indexer mismatching product. So these are all problems we can 100% solve. Like I basically am not worried at all about our like ability to engineer our way through making these like indexers like very sound. But yeah, at the moment when these indexers are like, brand new and the space is like a baby, I would not be shocked if there's some sort of like mismatch in some values of BRC20 or something like this. And we'll kind of have to work through it. And we'll basically have to come to the conclusion, are we going to honor what Domo said, how Domo said the system should work and how that state appears on chain, or are we going to honor what Unisat says? And right now it's looking like if let's say Unisat had a bug and, Gate is holding, only $2 million worth of a BRC20 token, and they think they hold $4 million worth. That's a pretty decently sized problem starting to crop up, and it becomes even worse if it happens in the decentralized space. So I think probably at the moment it's looking like the indexer is the state, to be totally honest with you. I'm pretty sure the space would just go along with Unisat in this exchange if they said that this is what we're counting as the real BRC20, and everybody else who has this on-chain claim can get wrecked. I think probably the tooling, right, is going to be able to dictate that, at least for now, until we create a much more decentralized situation in the space.
Yeah, it always starts with centralization, and you have this like idea of a path to decentralization. Of course, Bitcoin had the most pure decentralized launch, although you could disagree and say, Satoshi pre-mined or mined, right? What is it? 5% of the supply. So you can never be completely decentralized. But I think in just this current state, there's so much money in the space now. You kind of have to start centralized and then move to a path of decentralization. Dogfather.
I mean, at the end, the market growth was so insane. And then, thinking about maybe $1 billion market cap, and then there's one computer running and doing the indexing. I mean, this is like a big mismatch. And I'm fully with Leo. We just need some more indexes and then cross checks, and then having that on a few more shoulders than just on one company. I mean, Unisat, how old are they? I mean, how many people are working there? I mean, I really love that company and what they're doing, but it's freaking young, and it should not be just one, startup where you rely $1 billion dollar market on one computer. I mean, of course, with a few backups and stuff, but one index is certainly not enough.
Yeah, I agree. Adam, have you been paying attention to this indexing wars and the centralized exchanges getting into the BRC20 while you're away?
It's honestly, it's almost overwhelmed. That's what everybody's talking about is BRC20s, right? And just a lot of chatter about. I mean, I just can't get over that early video of Casey saying, counterparty, and it's a shitcoin and shitcoin bliss, shitcoin that. And he's probably created the greatest shitcoin network on earth. Is so deliciously chef's kiss amazing that I just can't get over. I can't stop smiling. Like, it's literally the greatest irony. What was it? What was that tweet from Elon? It's like the most interesting or most entertaining outcome is the most likely. And here we are, man. It's freaking amazing. Obviously, so much needs to be built to support this infrastructure. I mean, we are just so early. We saw it in the last day or two with stamps where the SRC20s have started to mint heavily. I think the Kevin's already minted out. And we saw there was like one dude who built an indexer, like literally probably living on his laptop computer. And it went down. And it was like, well, what do we do now? We don't even know if stuff's minted out or not minted out. People wasting money. I mean, this is part of the process. And the whole infrastructure layer needs to be built. There's no way around it. And so, yeah, it is what it is, but it'll get better. That's for sure. But the best way to get better is with interest, and there's interest, and that's amazing.
Well, at least Casey built an on-chain shitcoin casino. So we're following his ethos. Just write down his words. Dogfather, what else?
Oh,
Go ahead, Leo.
I was just going to ask on that topic, you and Adam, and honestly everyone here, I'd be curious people's thoughts on like any parallels to the historical NFT space. I just remember like very clearly the expectations of the average like Web3 user, like NFT user from mainstream Twitter and mainstream like crypto. They were very used to these kind of more refined experiences. There was lots of like audits and all this stuff. And in the historical NFT space, like we were much more similar to how things are playing out with ordinals, where like we just fucking wing it. And like Adam tweets out a Medium post, and like, you know, we try our best to like do things, but like, you know, no, I don't, as far as I'm aware, no one's like hired a team to audit you know, stuff before, you know, it kind of gets rediscovered. Like if anything, you're just racing to get something out as quickly as possible before like that contract just gets completely aped, completely irresponsibly. Just, yeah, like it feels so similar to me. I'm curious if you guys have any like parallels there, or feel anything like similar.
Yeah, actually, so kind of the next segment, I was going to dive a little bit deeper into BRRRC20s because I have gone down the BRRRC20 rabbit hole over this last week. I've looked into every protocol that I could find, and I'm starting to see kind of two different things with parallels to the historical community. First is kind of these like early primitives, and you start, and it's very similar to kind of how it played out on Ethereum, where first thing you get is like the ERC20s. And so that's right, that's BRRRC20. And so then once that pops up, then you start seeing these early primitives of different types of games and different types of like DeFi protocols. There's two that came to mind. One I actually dabbled in, I tweeted about. One, there's somebody who created a pixel map with ordinals, and I've not seen anybody ever talk about this. This is the craziest.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah,
this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Here, let me pull it up here. It's called the Ordinal Board, and I'm probably gonna front run myself because I was gonna go buy one.
You're gonna go buy a bunch.
I was gonna buy one this morning, but screw it. Here, I'll put the alpha out here. It's crazy, dude. Look at this thing. So I'm pulling it up here on the screen. It's literally it looks like a pixel map board, but with ordinals, and they're using this thing called like a parent chain. Oh, it looks like a bunch of people have bought it. It's like a parent chain or something to where you can buy the tile, but if you buy the tile from somebody, then it puts the inscription on top of the previous ordinal, like in the same ordinal or something like that.
Very cool.
It's wild. I'm surprised I've not seen anybody talk about this, but also they're doing some sort of like DeFi, putting some sort of like DeFi ecosystem on it, but it's pretty cool, right? So this reminded me of like Pixel Map.
Totally. That's exactly what Pixel Map does, right? You can literally layer images. All the images are on chain, right? Actually, this is like the first use case I've seen other than some like small art projects where he's layering the images. That's exactly what Pixel Map does. Each one is stored. So the same way that they are on ordinals. And the most recent one is the one that shows on the board. I wonder if they're going to get into something where you can see all the historical, like how Ken decided to do it eventually, which was like you on the main kind of page, main area, you see the most recent images. But if you click on any one of the individual tiles, you can actually see the history of images, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So see here, you can kind of like,
how many tiles are they doing?
Let's see. So it's 0 to 41. It's 41 by 41. So whoever is smart, do the math for that. Sounds like a lot.
1,600.
1,600.
It's 45,000.
So the outskirts is 0.16 BTC, and then you get to the middle, it's 0.25 BTC. I know there's some sort of like financial DeFi thing to it. It's also linked to the Oshi token, which is pretty popular. It's like a top 10 BRRRC20 token. And it's pretty smart how they like set all of this up. It's a cool experience. I highly recommend everyone to go to this. And so this reminded me of Pixel Map, right? People start creating games, kind of, and this all stems from what was it called? The $1 Million homepage.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's another one actually, and I got into this, and here's some more alpha. I tweeted the other day that I was mining, or I was farming like 400,000 AP or 400,000% APY on this like BRC ERC20 that shitcoin bridge token. I don't know what the hell it is, but basically what you do is, yeah, you're farming Yari, and it's kind of unique. And this protocol specifically reminds me of DeFi Summer 2020. It started out exactly the same. So basically what you do is you wrap your ETH into something called DETH, or DETH, which is on Ethereum. And then you take your ETH and DETH and you stake it into this farming protocol that gives you Yari, which is all on Ethereum. And then eventually what they're going to do is you're going to take that Yari and burn it for Yari on BRRRRRC20. And then that's going to be a bridge, or it's going to be the government tokens of a bridge, which they're going to try to do is bridge ETH to, they're going to try to bridge ETH to the BRRRRC20 ecosystem, I believe, by burning ETH for DETH. So you're essentially transferring over liquidity. But I believe if you have Yari, then you're going to get like residual income off of this bridge. I don't know, dude, it's crazy. And I want to play into the shitcoinery. I remember how fun DeFi summer was. And if this is the beginnings of DeFi summer for Bitcoin, I want all part of this. I
know it's what my brain instantly knows when it's this confusing. I know it's going to work. It's like I'm hearing wolf games all over again. And I'm hearing this and I'm going, this is so stupid, yet so complex that basically nobody on earth can understand it. So it's definitely what people want to do. Like, this is what people love. They love this shit.
So here, and let me pull it up. So the staking, the APY at one point was like 800,000% when I got into it. now it's down to like 2,000 or something because people started aping. The craziest part is there's literally 1,600 ETH and there's 800 DETH and 800 ETH in this contract already. So there's already people aping into it. But I do
be very careful, man. This is like you can get completely rugged with this, like to a zero, like in
So there's also actually like somewhat concerns too. I don't know if this is true or not, but in the Discord, people were claiming that this team behind it had sent ETH to like the Binance bridge hack or something like that, and which they haven't dispelled it yet. So you just be very careful. I assume I put in a small amount. As you can see on here, I put in 0.1 DETH and 0.09 ETH, and I have 0.25 Yari. There's only going to be 42,000. It reminds me a lot of like Wi-Fi. If you ever did like Yearn in the DeFi summer, it's what it reminds me of. Just be very careful. Anything you put into this type of stuff, I assume it's going to be lost at some point. So just, oh, wow, there's 900 DETH and 900 ETH. So what's that, like 4 million or something?
He'll be a billionaire 1 second before he has zero.
Well, the crazy part is, which is also kind of skeptical too, is it literally costs like $100 to like claim the Yari because of like how crazy the gas fees are. So, and there's like 11 days to do this protocol. Like, there's a lot to it. And I will be the test dummy to take it on and see if this works. But man, I do think that this like DeFi on Bitcoin through BRRRRC20s and ordinals, I think is a real thing. It's just like, what protocol is it going to be? Is kind of tough. I don't know. Leo, have you seen that at all? Have you, the one that, I'm going to pin it up here, but have you heard about the one that I was just discussing?
Dude, the only thing I've seen is like I saw like 2 of your tweets in my feed about it, and like I was like, shit, I do not have time to go down this rabbit hole right now. It sounds like a deep rabbit hole. But yeah, look, I
pinned it for everyone. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not the person to talk to about the DeFi stuff. There's like a cohort of like, the space is just too big for me to track everything. It's like I can't do DeFi and, you know, inscriptions and meme coins. It's like too much. But I know people are very excited about it, and I do want to like do a deep dive down that and educate myself much better. And look, it's a lot of this stuff is like you're either doing these like trade-offs of trustlessness. Like, it's not necessarily fully on layer 1. There's people very excited about doing this fully on layer 1. I think that's all theoretical at the moment. I think it's possible. I just think it has to be built, and it might take years. Like, I honestly have no idea. But yeah, I think, you know, bridging and doing DeFi with these assets seems like a pretty obvious thing that will probably happen.
It seems like what's happening here with Bitcoin DeFi, it's accelerating at a much faster pace because I think everyone's kind of gone through this already. And also people are just leveraging Ethereum on top of it and are not having issues at all, right? There, it's kind of like the whole maximalist idea is kind of, the wall's just been completely tore down. And the ETH people and the Stacks people as well, and BSV, those are kind of the 3 different communities, have come in and been like, yo, we don't agree with this take. And regardless what you say or not, we're just going to come in and start mixing it all together. This, like the BRRRRC20 and ordinals, has really shown that I believe this is going to be a multi-chain world that we're going to, and it's only going to just become more and more stacked on top of each other. But going back to Leo's parallel with the historical community. If you look at kind of like the explosion of ordinals or Bitcoin, you can say, right, it's kind of following a similar trajectory, right? The first thing people started doing was the avatars, which is always the first two things that ever happen on a chain or the evolution of something. It's always like identity, right? It's like the name and the image. So you had the dot sats and you had the images. I think the images came first, right? And then you got some sort of gamification, right? You're getting this pixel board thing. You're getting some proposals. Now it's kind of going into DeFi, and you see a ton of different teams kind of putting out different proposals. I woke up today and there was like somebody proposed like a BRRRRC20 or something like that, which
there have been a couple actually. I've seen a couple. I proposed one, right? The BRRRRC21, which is just adding the other digits. But actually, a better proposal was put out for a BRRRRC21, which would allow kind of editing of the coins and stuff. But I think there'll be I told the guy who put it out, I said there's going to be a lot of pushback because people want that kind of immutability of the token. They don't want to be able to somebody to just say, okay, and now there's more tokens, right? Actually, I think people really like that feature of the BRRRR20s where it's kind of locked in stone. You know, but I think, you know, it's only a matter of time before another one comes out, another kind of protocol that people get behind, right? I think it's just a matter of time. And maybe it's, you know, an influencer kind of creating a new one and that one going forward, but there's going to be more interest, no doubt. I'm wondering if I love that how you broke that down. It was actually almost my exact keynote at what I was at Tallinn, but you know, it was like that plus memes thrown in there. And I'm wondering what else, if we've missed anything from the HNFT space that we haven't thought of yet. And anybody on stage chime in here. Is there something we've missed that hasn't happened yet that we saw kind of historically play out?
Yeah, Etor, go ahead, Leo. First.
I was just going to say, I mean, definitely the idea of taking 1,000 Ether at homepage and tokenizing it, I swear, like every month a new developer tells me they built this and they're the first person to do it. Nobody like goes to Google and like sees if it's done before. They all think they're the first.
Totally.
But, yeah, I don't know. That for whatever reason, that idea, because it's kind of like a unique, creative, bizarre idea, but like it's like disproportionately to what you would think, very popular of an idea for a developer to make. So I don't know. Totally. I'll double down. I'll double down on the $1 million homepage.
Yeah. I just pinned the like I said, the pixel map version, the ordinal board. It's been out for 2 months too, and I've never seen a tweet about it. So maybe you guys can go show some love for it. Ethor, thanks for being patient. What's good?
Yeah, we got over all the different episodes we've done. There's been so much alpha, and you know, I think you don't know until afterwards, but we talked about the Bitcoin punks before they were really minted out, and of course ordinals and stamps and BRRRR20s, and I mean maybe a little bit of Peppy coin, but never quite to the extent. And you know, looking at this whole DeFi thing, it could easily blow up. I mean, I don't know how many were around doing DeFi summer in 2022. It sounds like Jake was, but it was exciting and people were making so much money and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Very much like we saw with Pepe, because, you know, it just seemed like another meme coin for a while. And then all of a sudden it was, you couldn't avoid it on your Twitter timelines, and it just got bigger and bigger. And my friends who I tweeted as a joke to, they just jumped in, zero IQ'd it, and ended up making, you know, a ton, even though I thought they were like too late for me to join. And looking at some of this big Bitcoin DeFi stuff, I mean, it really, once it creates excitement and it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger, it can get crazy. I think we've all seen that in different various markets. The only question I have is, you know, I thought the whole reason why DeFi works is with smart contracts, and you know, is it just going to have Ethereum as a crutch to make it work? I just wonder how that all works. I mean, I know we got a little bit going with it now with the ability to do BRRRR20s and create tokens on Bitcoin, but how far will that take it?
Yeah, so right now what I'm reading, at least the thing I was talking about with the DETH and ETH, is they're just trying to bring further liquidity to BRRRR20. So that's why they're creating this like bridge to hopefully do. I think they're going to use cases like Teleburn to like burn ETH and it's almost like a vampire attack in a sense, right?
Dude, anytime I hear Teleburn, I'm like, oh, come on, man.
And people are gonna circle around to it. People see Casey as like this messiah, man. They're gonna use whatever. They're gonna use whatever he puts out there some way.
So amazing, man.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I mean, in DeFi summer of 2022, it's literally just became like a giant game of yield farm hot potato. You come in, you try to get those like juicy yields for about a week, and then you just kind of move on to the next protocol until eventually that protocol figures out what the hell they're doing and goes back and forth. I think we're going to get a lot more of these like governance type tokens come into play. They have also that group has also proposed some sort of DAO. They came up with a different name for it though. It's called like decentralized ordinal entity, I think is what they're using instead of DAO, right? Because not autonomous in a sense.
Yeah.
So they're using Oshi and Yari are supposed to be two different governances for two different things. Whether it works on Bitcoin, I don't know. Has Bitcoin ever had a governance token on it? I don't think so. In the history of Bitcoin, I don't think so.
I'm just wondering what I think probably the Pepe coin has the biggest shot about like reaching into the mainstream and pulling in adopters. I think that's a possibility. Obviously, Binance. I think I got an email from Coinbase about it, and I saw people tweeting about it because Coinbase kind of framed it in a somewhat negative light. But it seems like Pepe coin certainly has that potential right now to bring in, kind of that meme coin trader. GameStop type trader. But then again, I'm wondering if that GameStop type trader, has that money because they didn't get the, $1,200 from Uncle Sam this time around. Do they have money to come into it and make a play? It's possible. But keep an eye out because certainly if that happens, we're at all different levels. If we actually get people not in crypto Twitter interested, then it's game on.
Yeah, speaking of Pepe, MemeFi is becoming a thing. I don't know if you saw, I put this tweet out yesterday. There's 3 Pepe memed coins who are using Emblem Vault in a variety of ways to basically put rare Pepes in a vault and then do a handful of things with it. I just know I own 0 of these tokens that I'm mentioning. I probably should have because I tweeted out bag and then I went 5x after I tweeted about it. I own 0.
In full transparency, I don't know if it was this one. Is that the Feels token?
Yeah.
So Feels good. Yeah, the Feels token. They did reach out to me because they were having some issues with the legacy collection and putting the Feels good. So just to give some context here, basically what these guys are doing is they're taking the Feels Good Man token, which is the actual rare Matt Fury rare Pepe. It's the very last of the rare Pepes. So you can take that and you can lock it in their contract. And when I'm assuming, I don't know the full details, or there on Jake's showing it there on the webpage. But you lock that into the contract, and in exchange, you get a certain number of these Feels tokens, which you can then sell to the market. And so just in full transparency, I did talk to these guys. I hold none of this. I hold no interest in it. But just to kind of square them away because they were having trouble, making sure that they were getting the contract to work right or correctly. And so they ended up going with the curated collection. So I know there were a bunch of OGs there because there were people who had these already in legacy collections, basically unvaulted, revaulted in the curated collection, locked them in the contract. And I don't know how many have sold or traded or whatever, but they're kind of doing this thing where it's like, okay, it's not fractionalization, right? But in a way, I guess it is, because if you accumulate enough of these Feels tokens, you can actually pull out a Feels Good Man, rare Pepe.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever dabbled on NFTX before, where they have like the NFT liquidity pools where there's a token that represents the pool of tokens. So if you have like a Mooncat pool, there's a token called Mooncat, and you can just slowly acquire Mooncat. If you get one full token, then you can pull out a Mooncat, and it moves as the price of the Mooncat NFT price moves. And so this kind of reminds me of that, where I do like that they use the curated collection and that they're kind of moving to that direction, right? It puts a little bit more stability in the idea. They also used it because, right, you have to have at least one Feels Good Man in that vault for that to happen. So that it just came down to a security thing. They
yeah,
also
it's security. Plus, they just it can get a little complicated if just for their making sure that it's the real one in there. You know the way scammers work and get creative with that stuff. So and curated, it's basically near impossible to put a fake one in there. So
and so they created a custom contract pretty much that you take your Feels Good Man in the curated collection, you deposit it into this contract, and then they give you, I don't know, it's like 1 billion. I think it's like 1 billion feels, right? But
do we know how many are locked in there right now?
I think there's 4 from what I from what I understand. If you go and look even at the bottom of the screen, there was 3 or 4 Feels Good Man that sold this week alone.
Yeah, right? Well, we know why, right? We understood. That was all came clear when I got that text. I was like, oh, this is what's happening. So it's pretty interesting. And hey, if you have that now, there's actually like a use case for your Matt Fury NFT, which is pretty cool. I know they were trying to tie it, to Matt himself. Obviously, he has nothing to do with this, but that from a marketing perspective made a bit of sense anyway. Considering all these others are just have nothing to do with Matt. This is actually his NFT, which is pretty interesting.
Right. Then you had Pepe Cash ETH, which I think this one was the first one through the door, and I think also the first one to zero, honestly. So basically what these guys did, I mean, it's a cool idea. I don't think they completely thought it through, but somebody took 300,000 Pepe Cash, which is about $6,000, and they put it into a vault and then issued shares against it. And it pumped, and then people realized, oh, there's only $6,000 of collateral value in here. And there was like no claim to like take some of the money and rebuy and keep refilling it or anything like that. And I think if you look at this chart, you see there's like a huge increase in the beginning, and then it kind of just like falls off, as you can see right here.
I saw the FUD happen on this one almost immediately. I saw this, and I saw the kind of OG counterparty people like, wait a minute, I have more Pepe Cash. I have 10 times this amount of Pepe Cash in my wallet. What the hell is this? So yeah, that one collapsed pretty quick.
Yeah, I think also the Pepe community was kind of upset that they weren't included on it. I know Dogfather has been tweeting and following this like memification or financialization of memes with Pepe. What's on your mind?
Yeah, and the third one is this bag token. And full disclosure, I own a few of all of those, just experimenting a bit, because if you own a few, then you just dig a bit deeper than just reading a tweet. And first I thought about this bag token. Okay, this is another cheat coin. A thing you quickly flip. But then this morning it clicked to me that I was like, okay, maybe this can become something like an exchange traded fund based on rare pappies and a bunch of other counterparty assets that you can you can trade in a liquid way. Because the most problematic thing for most people is that these historic NFTs, as we all know, are relatively illiquid. So you have a big bid-ask spread, so the highest bid and the floor price, then sometimes it's like multiples in between. So that's not very attractive for most people and for institutional traders. And I'm not saying this will be something like an rare pappy or counterparty fund, but it could be if it's played out nicely. And there's already like 160 rare pappies in there, or let's say assets, and more than 100 rare pappies, and some are really valuable, like $7,000. And so this can be, if it's played out nicely, can become a very nice way to introduce new people who are not into installing, yet another wallet and think about how this pencils work, or even buy something that's on Emblem Vault directly, but just via their MetaMask, just buy some token and have some rare pappy exposure. So maybe this can be really something like a long-term play where you can gain rare pappy exposure to one of the largest, rare pappy collections if this is growing nicely.
Does this allow you to basically put in additional rare pepes, and for doing so you receive some of the token, or how does this work as far as like exactly. With the Feels Good Man, it's obviously you can add more. If you happen to hold one, you can add it and you'd be rewarded with the token. Is it similar?
It is relatively similar. So they started with asking a bunch of Rare Pepe OGs and artists that they contributed some of their valuable Rare Pepes, and then they received some of these bag tokens in return. And now some people even donate some Rare Pepes, just to promote the project. And I mean, of course, I think the token made 10 or 20x from the beginning. Of course, you need to then adjust the number of bag tokens you receive once you send Rare Pepes. And at some point, obviously, the team is not sitting on enough bag tokens to basically give some to people who are donating Rare Pepes. So then we have to think a bit more about how you can grow that thing. But just from a marketing and putting more eyes on Rare Pepe perspective, I think this can be a wonderful way to attract new people.
Yeah, one thing Dogfather didn't mention is that there's trading fees associated with it. I think it's like 2% or something, and all the trading fees are going to go back to buying more Rare Pepes and putting it in the vault. Okay. I think that's kind of the mechanism that the Pepe Cash one was missing. So here there's watch my words very carefully. There's an expectation that there's going to be more Rare Pepes inside of a vault moving forward, and I've seen some of the community members already. I think there's literally like 200 people who hold this token of saying like they want to go buy a Nakamoto card with these fees, and I guess after the first day trading, they're already 10% of the way there, right? So you kind of see this encouragement that, hey, maybe this does turn into like a Pepe index fund. That kind of Dogfather was just discussing. Leo.
So I'm kind of curious. Like, I like having the conversation and just like drawing the parallels to like our prior history kind of in the space and just everything we've been through in this like historical NFT space. And I'm seeing so many parallels. It's like, this is a situation where there's like this newer group of people that are very excited about Pepe. And then like all of the OGs and the historical like Rare Pepe people are like, wait, what the hell? Like, they don't even know who we are. Like, they're co-opting what we're doing. Why aren't we getting, the tip of the hat for what we're doing? Like, why are we not financially benefiting from this? Like, we're getting left out of our own movement. And there's two approaches. And I think y'all know kind of the approach I'm an advocate for. But there's one approach where you sit in a Discord or a Telegram and complain and say that, these people are bad, or, how are they not pumping our bags? Like, just expecting everyone to just magically do a bunch of historical research and figure this out on their own. And you are entitled to your bags going up by all of these new people who don't care about you. Or perhaps there are interesting ways to share your story with these people and create interesting financial connections. And I've seen very, very clearly this works successfully in the world in certain ways and some not. So I'll give a very successful example. Early days, right, is like that 2020, 2021 bubble was starting to become a thing. We saw Wall Street bets started blowing up. There was tons of speculation on the GameStop stock, right? And that was a thing for about a week or two. And then as soon as, I think it was, I'm forgetting the hedge fund, but some hedge fund basically more or less tanked the GameStop price.
Citadel
colluded with, I think, the Robinhood CEO and did some weird thing basically. And as soon as that ended, people realized, okay, wow, we can't play this game in the stock market. And instantly, I mean, literally that night, the Dogecoin Twitter was like, we are the answer. There's a famous Reddit post where the Dogecoin Reddit was like, come do this stuff with Dogecoin. And I mean, literally within 24 hours, the entire movement, like all my friends who were in Wall Street bets, GameStop had just switched completely to Dogecoin. And then that entire movement took off. So a little bit of just like association of these things, because they are very, very similar, right? Like, to me, the whole Pepe movement and of the modern Pepe movement and then the earlier Rare Pepe movement, they're all people who are excited about the Pepe meme and they're tokenizing that. It's all the same thing. It's just people who did it first and people who did it second or third. And I definitely think, there's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it, but experimenting in ways to connect those two worlds and, potentially have maybe that more meme coin, newer community learn about Rare Pepes, I am for this like sort of kind of experimentation, and maybe this one coin, the first one that we talked about, maybe that was like not the approach to do, but like let's try some more experiments because, you know, there's no way, like we just have to basically give up if we're just going to say that, you know, we're going to stop trying to educate people and doing cool stuff with rare Pepes. I want rare Pepes to be like part of this conversation. There's no reason they shouldn't be. And I'm in general supportive of the counterparty rare Pepe people who are trying experiments like this Feels token. I think it's I think it is probably a net benefit. And I think sitting around and like arguing in Telegram and feeling like insecure about your bags because other people are making money on your meme, that's not the answer.
Yeah, I think we learned in the historical space, if you just yell at people about the significance of your tokens, it does not work at all. So I pinned to the top actually. So Rare Mike on Twitter is the creator of Rare Pepe, did the Nakamoto card. He tweeted yesterday, I thought it was pretty good. I said, I don't think you realize how far this is going to go and how we aren't going to go back. Pepe on the news now, we're going to win. It's the people's movement. Crypto is going to win, right? So you have the creator Rare Pepes who's also getting on board, right? It's a good signal to say like, hey, he's not the grumpy guy, right? He's not the grumpy person who's just going to say, we need to be here, right? We should be loved. They're like going out and, you know, speculating and spectating on it and also just making some cool movements. I also want to say too as well, the Pepe Cash one that pretty much went to zero. They did reach out and say the intentions of it was to like educate and to shed some interest on Rare Pepe. Of course, also everyone wants to make some money.
And my bags by 1,000%.
Right, and yeah. God, let me get out of this Pepe Cash. Dogfather, what's going on?
Yeah, and you have to also acknowledge that some counterparty people who are like 100% BTC and never touching ETH in their life really also recognize that this is a big chance and also participate and support the new bag coin, which I was really surprised because they had a really very strong stance against ETH. And they also see the perspective that we need to open up, we need to embrace, and we need to welcome, you know, everyone, right? If they're interested in Pepes, wherever they come, they're welcome, even if they come from Solana, right? I mean, so, and I think this is a very good development. I mean, really healthy development to gain more than, you know, the 1,000 people are interested in Rare Pepes.
Yeah, so this week I recorded, or I guess the last 2 weeks I recorded with like Joe Looney, J-Dog, who's like the X-Chain developer and Free Wallet, Mike in Space, and a few other counterparty people. And all of them, I always ask like what their opinion is on Ethereum. And all of them have moved out of the maxi camp over the last few years and into ETH because I think they do realize, you know, if you are going to play the meme game, you can't control the memes to one chain. You can be born there, right? You can be like the cultural hotspot in a sense, but you can't barricade Pepe into one chain. You realize that it has to be multi-chain for that to succeed. I thought somebody had their hand up. I guess it's a good time for ETH Hoard to move into the Hoarder's Corner this week.
Hoarder's Corner.
Yeah. I got to do it now because if we keep talking, then I forget, and then it's like an hour and a half into the show, and I'm like, fuck, I totally forgot. My bad, bro.
Time he's sleeping. What's up, man?
Let's go Hoarder's Corner.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, usually because we start so late, I don't start reviewing what the document again until around 10. But you know, we'll do this one on the cuff. So yeah, we haven't done any rare art. I feel like artists are obviously big collector items, and so this week we're gonna do one of my favorite artists, Keith Haring. So this is Hoarder's Corner, a weekly segment that explores the world of physical collecting, digging into its history and exploring which characteristics drive value to draw parallels with historical NFTs. So Keith Haring, he was an artist prominently, prominently known in the 80s. He was born 1958 in Reading, Pennsylvania. Some of his biggest inspirations were cartoonist Dr. Seuss and Walt Disney. I think that shows in his work. He moved to New York in 1978 to attend School of Visual Arts and hone his craft. Herring's unique style of bold lines and bright colors sets him apart, often including social messages and depicting scenes of love, unity, fear, and war in his work. Kind of like an OG Banksy, he began using the city as his canvas, creating chalk drawings on blank advertising spaces and subway stations, sidewalks, and eventually the Berlin Wall. He got his first break with his solo exhibition in 1982, which skyrocketed him to prominence in the art world. But he continued drawing in subways, and then you started to see people stealing his work and kind of a la Banksy, right? That whole kind of free art in public, and then people steal it. And next thing you knew, all of his work was getting way too expensive for the average person to buy. So due to the high demand and rising prices of his work, he actually opened his own store called the Pop Shop, where he offered small, affordable pieces, prints, and memorabilia for people to collect. Accessibility was super important for Herring. So offering items as low as 50 cents and donating the profits to children's charities and AIDS research was definitely a key factor in what drove him to create. So he, despite his untimely death in 1990 from AIDS-related complications, Herring left a significant impact on the art world, both through his own work and his activism, particularly in raising awareness about AIDS.
You'll see I pinned a tweet at the top. You'll instantly recognize it's rare that an artist is instantly recognizable. I had no idea him by name, but the moment you see his work, you know exactly who he is. So it's really pretty impressive. He obviously made a big impact culturally.
Yeah, and it's hard to kind of define your own unique style. And he certainly did that in a very short amount of time, right? I mean, he was pretty much only making art for 8 years before he died, and or at least well-known art. And the reason why I chose Keith as kind of the first artist to highlight on Hoarder's Corner is because it goes to show, kind of maybe like what we're seeing right now with Ordinals, a little quote, late to the game to make NFTs, if you will. But you don't have to be first. You don't have to be super early. You just have to be unique, stand out, and gain a following. And that's certainly what he did. So let's go to the notable sales. I'm going to highlight 3 of them. They are on that link if you have that access, Jake.
Yeah, and if you guys are on the YouTube, you can follow along. Jake's got the screen up showing a whole bunch more of his art here.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So the first one is called Silence Equals Death. He made this in 1989. It sold in 2019 for $5.6 million. That is 3,176 ETH after this big drop that we saw the last 24 hours. So this depicted a inverted triangle on pink canvas. The work alludes to the AIDS epidemic, with his signature figures covering their ears, eyes, and mouths. I put this one first, even though the next one, The Last Rainforest, in, again, 1989, sold for slightly less, 5.5 million instead of 5.6 million. So that is about, 50 ETH less. But it sold in 2016. So yeah, technically it's a little less, but adjusting for 3 years of inflation, it's more. But more importantly, I think this piece is just more visually stunning. It's got a ton going on. It's also one of the last pieces he ever made before his death. Red and yellow clusterfuck of a painting. So much going on. It's combining every element and theme he's ever done into one. Probably with my ADD-ness, if I could choose one of his pieces, it might be this one. It's just one that I feel like you could stare at for hours. And then there's the Grail. This is the highest selling painting he's ever had. It's called Untitled. He had a lot of those. This one he made in 1982, which was pretty early on. That was right around the time he got that solo exhibition. And it sold for $6.5 million. That's 3,611 ETH. This black and white painting with red X's shows a child as the centerpiece amid explosions signifying death in nuclear war.
Yeah, this piece is fantastic to look at. I also believe there is a rare Pepe that's a Keith Haring one. I don't know which series that one is, but there's definitely one of them.
There is. It's called, I think, Herring Pepe. I've been eyeing it for a long time. I almost bought it. It's a Zed art, and it's fantastic. And one day I will have it.
Dude, the older I get and the longer I stay into NFTs, the more I'm just convinced I do not know how to value art at all. I'm so horrible at it. I can trade like collectibles and stuff, but art is just not my thing.
It's impossible, bro. It literally is impossible. We actually in Talon, we did a whole kind of workshop on valuing or attempting to, first steps into what it would be like investing in historical NFTs. And I'm just, at the end of the day, so, I mean, it really is. These are prices, interest, and everything. It's driven by, community, what we call community, but really it's collectors, right? And how do you, this is with like artists too. How do you get the right group of collectors, right? The collectors that really hold sway and influence. It's so interesting in the NFT space to see it because it's kind of laid bare in public to some degree, while in the traditional art space, it was literally kind of behind closed doors type of thing. I remember when I interviewed Sarah Mohoyas, and I talked about this because she was in the traditional art space and actually was successful prior to getting into the NFT space. And I asked her, how many, collectors do you really need? And she's like, I always felt like I needed 5. And I was like, 5? Really? She's like, you need 5 of the right collectors and you can make a career out of it. And that blew me away from like a perspective of like what in the traditional art sense was needed to get enough of a following to support yourself. And I think NFTs kind of highlight this to a degree and make it even more confusing because it's like, well, which 5? What's important? How do I know what's important? It changes every day. It's amazing. Is there any more exciting space on earth? No way, man. It's incredible.
I believe there's a book about internet communities, and I think the number is 1,000. If you could find 1,000,
the 1,000 true fans,
1,000 true fans, and then you could be very successful. I mean, just literally $100 of 1,000 people, right?
Yeah, I like to point out. I hung out with Spotty Wi-Fi. If you guys don't know Spotty, he's amazing. Hung out with him again in Talon, and he gave his kind of keynote on that exactly, like how he as by all accounts, globally is a small artist, but he lives an awesome lifestyle because he's been able to grab that 1,000 fans, like 1,000 true fans, the guys who actually, he sold out his, last NFT collection in, 30 seconds, right? And he's making an incredible living being this kind of like hyper niche artist. It's awesome. And NFTs allow that.
What's good, Tendy? Are you going to rib it at me?
I'm going to rib it at you, man. Thanks for having me up. And also, Ribbit, speaking of dope collections with more than 1,000 holders, Ribbit, shout out to my frogs out in the audience. I just figured I'd bring the frog army over, give you guys a little bit of a bigger listener base. And I like what you guys are talking about here with like really rare art and the interest in the art and what really drives and carries the artist. It's actually a real interesting listen. And thank you for having me up.
Thank you. Yeah, Fridays we focus on like the collecting aspect versus the trading. It's more of like buy and hold. People like to have more philosophical debates of the things that they buy. It's fun, can also be quite contentious, cause a lot of divides, but a little bit different than just the Monday through Friday shows that you see on the Twitter Spaces of people yelling at each other for entertainment purposes. But enough shade there. This week, dude, Emblem, we had a ton of updates. So I'll get into that because I know we got some Emblem community members in the crowd. First thing is, excuse me, finally launched this documentation that everyone's been asking for. Jesus Christ, this took me and Shannon forever to put together. There is so much to this, man. Oh my Jesus. So basically this documentation, it's a Git book. It's kind of just the standard stuff that you see. It's everything from like what we do to the history to what Koval is to the vault creation, different use cases, blockchains we're deployed on. We did publish our APIs, at least the current ones that exist right now. So the main one that exists now. There's 2, and then there's a few others coming, is this inscription tool, which is super cool. So we had this inscription tool built to where anybody who's offering an inscription service, you can add this button to where a user can receive their fresh ordinal in an Emblem vault on Ethereum. Of course, now with gas fees being absolutely insane, it kind of has put a little bit of a halt into the integrations for that. But we do have an inscription service that we'd build it for specifically, but we do want to open it up to everybody. They haven't launched it yet, but the whole idea is now, right, you get it with Ethereum, and eventually, right, you get your inscription service on Polygon because we're deployed on Polygon, and Binance Smart Chain would be the 3, so you can get it into a better gas environment. The ultimate goal is to have an inscription service to curated collection, to where if somebody just wants to do like a 10K ordinal collection, you can just have the whole thing deployed on Ethereum, all in one go. That's kind of like the longer outlook. I think that'll unlock a lot of different things, but also just take your ordinal collection, do it on any chain, right? Do a 10,000 PFP drop and have it, vaulted on Polygon for 10 cents a vault or something like that. We are also haven't announced. This will be the first time that we've announced this. We also will have a stamps tool as well, which should be done pretty shortly, that you can have a stamp and receive it directly on Emblem Vault, on Ethereum. And of course, also we have to scale outwards, but always got to start small. And I've learned the complete difference of operating or working for a company that's a tool and infrastructure versus a collection. Collections, they like surprises. People, community members of tools do not like surprises at all. At all. They do not like it. So I'm trying to be a little bit more just straightforward with like what we're doing.
What's the address? People can look that up, man. What's the URL?
Here, so it's in, if you go to the Emblem website or the Emblem Twitter, it's in the website. It's just emblem-vault.gitbook.io.
It's the Gitbook, yeah.
Well, I am really excited to bridge some stamps. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I know you are the biggest fan, Tendy, of stamps. Absolutely.
Stamps are my passion. I can't wait to collect and bridge all the rare stamps. I'm gonna put some stamps over on Binance Smart Chain via vaulting. I really, really love this. You guys are really building some dope shit.
Bro, the hardest NFTs on the planet, my friend. The hardest NFTs on the planet.
Thank you, Adam, for bringing us the word of stamps and standing by your stamps. We appreciate your stamps out here. Without stamps, ordinals wouldn't be so great. So thank you, dinosaurs, for coming out to seek liquidity out here. And I can't wait to bridge some shit. Thank you.
Who put out the tweet? Maybe it was Mike in space put out the tweet. He's like, what stamps do is they protect ordinals, right? Because the maxis who want to prune ordinals realize that if they do that, bro, stamps are coming for them, man. It's like the stamps will break Bitcoin like completely. So I think I retweeted and put out, stamps are like ordinals, badass big brother. They protect the ordinals, man. Ordinals can't go down because stamps would just like destroy Bitcoin. Yeah.
How funny. The big other one that we have, we're 2/3 of the way done with this, is the native vaulting, which has been a highly sought after API. Been requested by tens of thousands, probably like 10 different companies about this. It's this idea of taking a vaulting experience to your own webpage using Emblem Vault. So if you wanted to, or any of these ordinal aggregators or companies, they could do something similar to what Ordinals Market did, to where you could just take those and build that vault experience on your homepage, and you can set the prices, and you're just basically just using the Emblem software. So for example, like OpenSea, right? Or we'll use Binance. So when Binance launches their ordinal marketplace, they can add their own vaulting experience to, then they can have their users go back and forth between ordinals and Binance Smart Chain collections. That's built directly into Binance itself. So this is something I think that's going to really change the game. I think it'll really encourage or like fortify the idea of vaulting as a service. Who knows, right? Or it could just be a complete bust. But it seems like, right? It seems like that's kind of, it's the idea of letting or meeting collectors where they are. If users want to go trade ordinals on Solana, then Magic Eden can add this, and they can have all their traders, trade ordinals in Solana. It's just this like idea of a multi-chain future, and more than encouraged to implement that
It
Another
would
one.
be interesting to be able to do it like at scale for, I mean, I know it's not really possible, but, or just thinking about it, thinking it through, but being able to take something that needs to be liquid and easy to trade, say the BRRRC20s, right? You want it to be like basically free to trade, right? And people are talking about, well, it's easiest on a SEX, on a SEX, right? On a centralized exchange to do that. But maybe vaulting in some ways is some interesting example of that, like where it could be put on Solana, right? Where the vaults are then, basically free to trade. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud as to like these potential use cases of what people can do. I think it's going to be interesting. We've seen the first kind of shots at it with these different Pepe coins and stuff. So we'll see where it goes from here.
When Adam and I had talked with Domo a few weeks ago, one of the ideas we had for Emblem was to create curated collections for BRRRC20s. So you can just kind of trade like packets of BRRRC20s, like NFTs in a collection. But then you can also go in and out, right? And go back and forth between Ethereum and Bitcoin. It was just one idea. Maybe it comes true. Of course, we weren't technically ready to do it immediately. So that's kind of where you saw it go different directions. But that was one way we were thinking of trading it. Another API thing we have here is we've been exploring this idea of wallet integrations, this idea of when you unlock a vault and you want to bring your asset to its native chain. So we'll use ordinals again, because this is kind of the conversation. Let's say you have a Bitcoin punk and you want to move it back to ordinals. There's this process where you have to unlock the vault, then you have to take the private key, then you have to go import it into a Taproot wallet. What some wallet providers we've been discussing with is just unvaulting it and immediately getting it in like an Xverse wallet or a Hyro wallet, kind of eliminating those steps. Of course, what we've learned, very highly technically difficult to do, but there is some interest there. So we're trying to really build that out. Even more so, maybe even the other way of just having even like wallets hosted inside of vaults of your favorite providers. Again, there's a lot of things that surround that, from like a security difficulty. But having, I think that kind of like brand loyalty and also just making that experience as frictionless as possible is the direction that we want to go to move as we move into like this idea of infrastructure provider. And if you go all the way down at the bottom, this is something people have been asking for a long, long time. We have the how it's done. Shannon went in detail how Emblem Vault is done. Literally, you could see this on the screen. Like, this is a very long and in-depth write-up of how Emblem Vault as a service works. So if you want some of the technical details, you can do that as well. And we've also finally published our new terms of service, which is also very, very long. The legality of this, dude, it took me probably 30, 40 minutes to read through the entire thing. The lawyer did a really good job just understanding the nuances of Emblem Vault. I was very, very surprised. Very, very surprised. We went after like a pretty solid firm that we worked with that's pretty popular in the crypto space to be working on. What else do we got here?
It's nice to get all that stuff out there, though, and be able to point people to a page rather than having to answer all these questions individually every single time. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, so I just direct people to that. It has all the tutorials and stuff. We have increased the CoVol fees from 250 CoVol to 560 CoVol. Maybe that's the reason why CoVol spiked. I don't know for sure. Maybe somebody saw an arbitrage opportunity. One of the reasons that we're doing this, of course, the CoVol price just dropped, right? So you got to keep it at some sort of like pegged price to, incur some revenue. But also the next big project that we're working on is actually like a complete redesign and revision of Emblem.finance and the vaulting experience. We realize there's a lot of clunkiness to it, and also the current state of it puts a hindrance on the mobile experience. And I know Adam's been very big since we joined the team. Got to get the mobile experience fixed. So we want to try to like keep the whole experience on one page, kind of similar. You see some of these ordinal projects are doing pretty good. Like how Uniset has it set up for BRRRC20, I think it's actually like pretty good. So we are going to be, that's the next big project that we're taking on. And with that, right, it'll come maybe some additions to some sort of tokenomics with CoVol. But we are trying to find some encouragement and some different types of utility for CoVol. Where it's moving now is kind of like it's used for our power users. And so we're trying to find different beneficiary ways to do that. Of course, the original vision was to use staking or to put it into a staking contract. Unfortunately, now being a US company, like staking is highly discouraged and probably will get you some sort of like,
Get you some jail time.
right? Uncle Gary Gensler is going to come after you if you put out a staking contract, right? So that's out of the works, right? Adding this into a marketplace, which is something we're trying to do, but you still got to get a bunch of the tools out there. And so we have a bunch of ideas in terms of like ways we can use Koval for some new features that will be implemented, but still largely will be, and Koval will have some sort of integration into the redesign, but we want to get that as simple as possible. We want to get it down to literally 2-3 clicks. Right now, I think from going to Emblem.finance to creating a vault is probably about 5 minutes or so, not including, or maybe depending on the blockchain. If you're using something like Namecoin, right, it could be like hours, literally. So, yeah, we do want to bring that down to maybe 3-4 clicks and like literally a few minutes. And especially with like this bulk minting tool, which we're working on right now, bulk minting tool and the migration portal. I think once we get both of those launched, then the BrrrrrrrrrrrrrrC collection will be doing really well. As we see now here, I have it pulled up on the screen. 173 unique items, 210 total out of 1,774. So, right, a long way to go. It's been a little bit of volume, but, you know, nothing too crazy. Most of it's been happening on the legacy collection. Again, I think it's just most are waiting for that migration portal tool and the bulk minting tool. In a sense, we are working in discussions with some individuals who have very large BrrrrrrrrRPepe collections to get them in the curated as well. I think that'll assist with, you know, some of the movement and traction for it. But we knew going into this with BrrrrrrrRPepes that it was going to be a long journey going to this or moving into it. So very excited for that. 2 more things just to close up and, you know, put a bow on this. Something interesting I found is this company called Paragon tweeted about using Emblem Vault or putting ordinals in Emblem Vaults and then using it in their game. So using an Emblem Vault as a gaming asset with ordinals, I found quite interesting. I do think that that aspect of Emblem Vault in games is like a largely underutilized and overlooked aspect of it. How they will use this ordinals in their game with an Emblem Vault, I don't know, but finding the Paragon is their Twitter handle is what they're going to be doing, which is quite unique. And then finally, the Dogfather, of course, with all of his research pieces that he puts out, and I'll kind of let him explain it. The Bitcoin blockchain gold coins and the super token idea. Would you like to explain that piece while I pin it to the top?
Yeah, of course. So I was contacted by the creator because we were having some Twitter discussion. Then he was saying like, you know, having just a helpful hand writing that up, you know, to cater the historical NFT community in a way that they understand it. Because this has a very long history going back to something called Ascribe, which was very similar to Counterparty, just a meta layer on Bitcoin. So they started 2015 with that, but after a while, they just closed it down and did something else. And this artist was creating a token issuance in November 2015 on Bitcoin, but not on Counterparty, but with a service called Ascribe. And the fun thing is, I mean, Inscribe and Ascribe is pretty close. So what he did is then after putting the artwork on Ethereum, because he somehow, I mean, he explained to me that he didn't want to use Counterparty because he was not really in favor using XCP, you know, this old story. So he was putting the artwork eventually in March 2021 on Ethereum. And it's like 58 coins ranging from A to Z, small and capital letters, and then all the numbers, excluding a few exceptions where you can, having a 0 reading as an O. And that's like the 58 characters that are forming up Bitcoin addresses. So he was putting that as an homage to the base 58 standard that are also forming the Bitcoin addresses. And then he was having these small coins pixelated art and putting that on Ethereum, but always having in the back of his mind, he would love to put that on Bitcoin. And this was really just a method to put it somewhere until inscriptions were offering the possibility to put that on chain. And he jumped on that and inscribed these 58 coins. And then, the question is, what do we do with having artwork on two chains? And he didn't like to burn the ETH stuff, but rather decided, okay, let's put that into an Emblem vault. So sending the ETH tokens and the inscriptions into one Emblem vault, which he's calling Super Token. And this is, as I found out, also something that the Emblem vault team was already using since years. And he was using that concept to have one Emblem vault where you have the ETH token and the inscription. And that's pretty unique, and it has a very low supply. It's just 58. So I think this is an interesting artifact where you have very interesting history from 2015, where he already started this, I would say, kind of like conceptual artwork. So it has some interesting history, plus some also on top of that interesting implementation in terms of putting the ETH and the Bitcoin stuff into one vault, and that's called Bitcoin Blockchain Gold Coins. And that's from ascribe to inscribe in 8 years. So I was really proud of it. Typically, I really suck, writing titles, but this one I was kind of proud of. So there's a Medium article.
That is funny, man. I like that.
The detail.
Yeah, so
I think we both interviewed Trent, right, for on our podcast. Trent, who basically turned Ascribe into Ocean Protocol. If I'm not wrong. Super mega genius, right? The dude is like,
dude, one of the most brilliant people I've talked with. I felt like I was talking to literally an android.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Obviously, those Ascribe works, we put in some time trying to actually like rescue them, because you got X copies there. You've got some early artworks and stuff, and so they're probably gone forever. Obviously, this is one of those early kind of early salvos that his is gone too. But to have that kind of connection, at least in spirit, maybe not the actual tokens, but the idea behind it is pretty cool.
Yeah, when I did my research on NFT marketplaces, you can find that like on my blog and stuff. It turns out Ascribe was actually the first NFT marketplace to exist, or I call it like a protocol. And then the first NFT marketplace, I guess, would have been Cointemporary, and their first transaction is actually on YouTube. It's I believe the end of March 2014. And it legit, this video took them 20 minutes to complete one transaction on it. It's just
Bitcoin.
on Bitcoin. Yeah, I believe the first transaction of a authentic back then, most idea, instead of calling it minting, their idea was to like authenticate digital assets. So that was kind of like the term they used.
Yeah.
The first authenticated digital asset was like towards the end of 2013. And then Ascribe went live publicly, I think like January 2014 or something like that. And you had like 3 or 4 different, here's the term that everyone's using today, meta protocols built on top of Ascribe. You had like Cointemporary, there was like Nexus or something like that, which is like a brainwave thing. There was 3 or 4 of them there. It's quite brilliant, because this is kind of exactly the same thing that's happening now. When people start talking about meta protocols, it's like, technically, I think Cointemporary would have been the first, or Ascribe would have been the first meta protocol.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's amazing we've come full circle back to it again. It's just incredible, man. And I don't know, just like with any, I just think of my business and businesses I've had and stuff, and being too early before. It's like sometimes the world just has to catch up to you. And that's obviously what has happened here. That these things were just way too early. They all failed. But here we are again, and now the marketplace, and there's enough kind of people here, people interested, who kind of get it this time around. And here we are with success. And it's just a timing issue.
You should tell Trent to restart Ascribe. Bring that thing back up, baby. Dogfather, what's good?
I mean, honestly, I was not digging too much into that, but I think they open source everything. So if you have enough dev capacity, you could spin up that again. It's on GitHub. The only thing is, it's not like Namecoin where stuff is expiring and you can grab some Twitter X. So it's like you will only benefit the original holders and then, just do that for the public good. So you would need to have some ascribed reals to, join efforts. But I think in this project with the Bitcoin blockchain gold coins, you come as close as you can because it's the original artist taking everything, the concept with him and putting then that on ETH and then later on inscriptions. I think that's the closest you can get to grab this kind of artifact and historical provenance since 2015.
Yes, yeah, so to kind of put it in a little context. So what, as far as my understanding goes with the Scribe, what they did was basically kind of in a way that Counterparty, thinks about the art as well, which is the art wasn't stored on Bitcoin, right? It was this, using transactional hashes and stuff to basically verify the art and kind of, lock it in, right? Where you, and we've talked about this with Joe Looney a lot, right? Where he's like, no, the token is the art, right? And everybody has this kind of like the social proof of what the art actually is. And that doesn't need to live on chain, right? And so this was actually verifying that art as well through hashes and stuff. But unfortunately, all that ascribed stuff is, they literally, Trent will tell you, no, we deleted all that stuff. It's gone. For legal purposes, they had to delete all that information and all that storage. And so, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get it back. Unfortunately, I think that might be lost to the annals of history.
And so for the final,
unless Trent releases that hard drive where I know it's all stored, he's got a hard drive of that somewhere, bro.
He seems pretty content that it's not coming back. So
yeah,
coming from him, this last segment though, I'd like to speculate because this token could be launched by the time we do this next Friday. BitGod, dude, man, what the craziest ascension I've ever seen. We had him on this show, I think like 6 weeks ago when he was literally under 1,000 followers, and now he's at 36,000. I'm about to launch his project called, was it OXBT? And now he's got this whole redacted thing going on. This guy it reminds me a lot of like what Utes did with their rise to fame. And it kind of is following a similar model to it as well. When you see this, like, it's called redacted BTC NFT, which is powered by OXBT. OXBT. So he's doing some NFT project with that BrrrrrrrC20 token. He's following almost to a T the Utes model. And one of the guys actually who is helping him run this, I believe, is on the DGod's team itself, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to find that tweet. So I don't know if there's like some crossover to this with the DGods or what, but to me, it's following exactly the same as how the Utes stuff was. But dude, he's doing a good job. He's been giving out whitelist spots to different communities to here it is. So NFT Brad, somebody who's been helping him, it says crypto since 2015, DGods, DCrowns, and BTC DGods, and then as the @redacted BTC NFT. Right. So I don't know. Maybe it's all a psyop, and then BitGod is Frank's alt accounts or something. I don't know. But I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see where this goes. It seems there is insane demand for this. So I don't know. I don't know if you can actually like be
good marketing is good marketing
at this point.
Marketing. It's incredible to see. Look, if you have this in you, it is a well-worn playbook to just pump stuff, man. And this guy's working it in the right way to get people interested. He's in the right spaces. He's talking to the right people, and it is what it is. You guys ape in, but be careful, man. I just, but he's a marketer, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I just disclaimer, I am on the whitelist, so I'm excited to participate in this, or at least it says I am. I don't even know. It was funny. I was joking with him, and I was like, I think like 2 weeks ago he was on this show, and he was talking about doing a project, and I was like, when whitelist? And at that time it was a joke, and he said it actually went from a joke to being real because of the amount of demand that happened. And I think you're actually starting to see this dynamic happen more with like BRRRC20s and allow lists. Excuse my French for saying whitelist. There was, I think, the Zbit drop just happened recently, which was like the the Bitcoin order. I forgot that Bitcoin Machines had just done one. They tried to do a launch with Ordinals bot, and the whole thing just went down immediately. It went down immediately. So I'm excited for this. Dogfather, what are you thinking about this OXBT and BitGod?
I mean, BitGod is a phenomenon. I mean, he was starting a small Twitter group, Bitcoin Sigmas, and it really started with some, vegans like his size, and now everyone is in there. I mean, Trevor is there, Udi is there, Frank the God is there. I mean, everyone, right? I mean, it's like pretty amazing how he's pulling it up. He's definitely a pro. I mean, honestly, he was going from 1,000 to 30 within 2 weeks. This is like unprecedented. And this is like real. I mean, you see how he's creating interactions and engagement. This is really like amazing. I mean, I think a lot to learn from this dude. And he never sleeps. I don't know. He's always on. Maybe there are 5 people.
Well, he might have a little bit of a team there. Oh, good.
I definitely think there's a team there for sure. Because anytime I DM him, he responds legit within like 3 seconds, and then he's on Twitter and Spaces. It to me, it seems like this is a pretty sophisticated person who knows what they're doing. Maybe had been in crypto for a while and just spun up a new account to get into the game. But I'm excited. He's doing the right spot. Leo, I know you talk with him a lot. What are your thoughts on probably the most hyped BRRRRC20 mint to ever happen?
So this is going to be another one of my lame answers. I can't talk about specific individual tokens. I basically made a commitment like 3 weeks ago on Twitter when I started buying BRRRRC20 to keep myself out of trouble. Like even in private messages, I literally have not talked to anybody about a single token. So can't talk about specific tokens, but I can talk about BitGod in general. I mean, yeah, dude, he's a cool guy. He's definitely smart. I've noticed pretty early on he had a knack for marketing. The guy was basically, I think a lot of people I don't know. Basically, like this is kind of the model to follow if you want to like start a project in this space. Like the guy identified an area that he was like bullish on, which is BRRRC20 and Ordinals. And I met him, a month or so ago, and he was just in every single one of he replied to every single tweet I had. He was in a lot of the Twitter spaces. He was just like kind of a nice, normal person that was like smart. And, he basically just like engaged with the community and, has basically been present and, with that whole like BRRRC20 movement from pretty early on. And I called it when I think he was like maybe 800 or 1,000 followers. I was like, within 2 months, this guy's going to be a top 5 influencer with 10,000 plus followers. It turned out it only took him like 32 days. And now he has like 32,000 followers. And, from a marketing perspective, what's the kind of like core of what's going on that's like really kind of taken him like his project to the next level. Cause like, yes, he was like getting like lots of traction. He was a cool guy. He was like tweeting, interesting stuff about BRRRC20, but he used that Utes model. Like you were saying, Jake, he used the Taproot Wizards model where you're basically dragging out this whitelist for like an extended period of time. And you're using that to get engagement. Right. And it's actually really smart. It's a great way to market a project because you're going to basically snap your fingers and create $10 million out of thin air. And there's lots of people who are willing to tweet and retweet you and follow what you're doing and join spaces and listen to you and have notifications on in order to participate in that creation of $10 million with a snap finger. So you're basically getting to, you're basically seeing this model of, he's basically starting a project the Web3 way. Like this is very much a Web3 model. It's like starting a project where you're using the fact that we have these Web3 protocols, these financial protocols on the internet to bootstrap his project rather than the old way to start a company would be you like go around to venture capitalists or something. He's just going directly to people. So I think that's pretty neat. That's a neat model. There's like the venture capital model. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually like that model a lot for certain use cases. But yeah, he's, one just more like kind of case study of somebody who's like really understood how you can kind of leverage the token incentive alignment model and really kind of basically extend that period of time of the whitelist to basically, make a name for yourself on crypto Twitter. And he's definitely doing that.
GM Bugsy.
Hey, GM guys. Yeah, how's it going? Just maybe thought. I don't want to FUD anyone. I don't want to say, I don't know anything for certain.
Lay it out, man. Lay it out.
Yeah, well, when I see someone go from 5,000 followers maybe to 35K in a matter of days, it does bring up some suspicion, right? And I know people want this whitelist and people love to make money, and that's great. But at some extent, is there a possibility that people are buying followers to create hype and to get more legitimate followers, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying followers if that's what you want to do, but I think that's something to at least consider in this situation. And I don't want to, BitGod's a great guy. I've talked to him on Spaces. He's an awesome dude, and he's creating a project that's great. But maybe a little bit of honesty might go a long way. And again, I don't know for certain. I'm not gonna say, hey, he's actually buying followers. Here's the evidence, because I have none. But when I see someone go from, a couple thousand followers to 35K within a week, that does bring some suspicion and concern and questions that maybe some people are not asking because they are now on the whitelist, right? So any thoughts there? I don't know.
Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, so I can basically, I can say with I can't say certainty. I've never talked to BitGod about this, but just being in the space for a while, watching a lot of basically engagement occur, ultimately follower count isn't necessarily the metric to go by for this reason, right? I would look at the actual engagement on his tweets, and from everything I've seen, the engagement is really strong, and his engagement is pretty authentic from what I can see, and it was very an organic growth. This is truly what happens when you're about to snap your fingers, create $10 million of value, and you basically use the kind of marketing tactic of saying, hey, I'm going to give these whitelists to the people who engage with me most. So everybody's trying to get on his radar so that he'll reply to their DMs and see that they want him to see that they are being a loyal person for the project and will be a good member of the project and thus get a whitelist. And so the phenomenon with the follower situation is he's actually not buying the followers. I can say that almost certainly. What's happening is because he's using the model of the interactions on Twitter to distribute the whitelist, you have, sophisticated actors with bots basically following him intentionally, hoping to farm the whitelist in some sort of way. So they are, I'm sure it's just making his life more difficult because now he has to filter spam messages and spam followers and spam retweets when he does stuff. So my guess would be if you asked him, he's not buying followers. This is actually super annoying to have it these fake bots following you. He probably really has 12,000 followers, right? Or something like this, but the 12,000 real people, which is still a massive amount to have gained in a 1 week period. So that's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I'm not trying to accuse him of anything. And like I said, he's a great guy. What he's doing is awesome. It's just it does seem a little unnatural. And every single project I see in Ordinals right now has 50 whitelist spots. So if everyone's on this whitelist, is there really a whitelist? So that's kind of it. Just seems a little weird to me.
Can you explain the last part a little more? What do you mean by there's only 50 whitelist spots?
No, I'm just saying every single Ordinals project that I've seen so far has basically broadcasted BitGod has given us 50 whitelist spots. Engage with us and you'll get one of these spots too. And every time he's on a space with people, he's like, "Oh, you get a whitelist. You get a whitelist." It's like
he's literally
Oprah Winfrey, right? You get a whitelist.
Yeah, he's giving away 10,000 whitelists. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But anyway, it's just I have concerns and questions, and I don't think these things are being brought up a lot because people want to make a lot of money. And I think it's a legitimate question. And obviously we may not get the answers, but maybe something to just keep in the back of your head as well, right?
I just gave the answer. He's not buying followers from my perspective. He literally is just having bots follow him. 100% he doesn't have 35,000 real followers. It's probably more 10 or 15,000 or something like that. But from other than just follower count, I can't find anything that looks like fake engagement on Twitter, just from what I'm seeing other than that.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. And I'm not trying to say that he is. But there's ways to even buy Spaces followers or Spaces people to join your Spaces. So there's 1,000 people in your Spaces.
He only has 50 people join a space when he enters. Like I'm genuinely, as someone who spends way too much time on Twitter, dude, is it possible that he is doing stuff like this? It's possible. I genuinely think, like, go pick a tweet that he did, go click all of the 200 accounts replying. They seem like authentic accounts to me. And I genuinely think when you're creating $10 million of value overnight like that, he is basically got this cohort of people the same way Udi has a cohort of people following them who want to Taproot Wizard. People will do crazy shit. They'll take wizard showers. And, you know, that'll obviously, he's basically got a period of time before this mint to basically kind of harvest that engagement. And I really think that's all that's happening. Like, I've seen this happen at way larger scales in the NFT kind of hype of 2021. These projects can, like, seriously drag a lot of people along for a period of time and, like, really get a massive amount of engagement. And it's real people. They want a whitelist spot. That's basically what I'm seeing.
Yeah, let me know. Bugsy, everything that you're raising is definitely a relevant point and should be discussed. Let me just note as well, when I had launched the Jake token just as like an experiment, the amount of followers that I'd gained just of posting something and saying like, hey, this is an experiment was hundreds, if not approaching like probably 1,000 now. But the amount of DMs that I got from the Asian community was at least 20 or 30 when I had woken up. And there is a huge amount of demand for BRRRC20s from the Asian community. And I just know that from people DMing me, and you could just tell like kind of how it is. Somebody wanted in the Asian community, they throw your BRRRC20 in their WeChat, and then everyone goes in engagement farms. It's kind of just like how the system works, because they all like to gamble. And so, and they know that they have to like back an influencer of some sort to do this. And yeah, there's probably some bots maybe, or people are bot farming, right, for the allow list. In some sense is true. But I think the more important tell would be after it's launched and after the hype fades, see where the engagement goes maybe 2 months from now to see if it persists. And you can generally tell when you go to somebody's account that has like 50,000 followers and maybe they get like 20 likes on a post, is like at some point they had some sort of hype surrounding them, and then it faded. And you can kind of see that a lot of those were just like either bot accounts or just accounts that were used for or created with an authentic user at that time. And then they're basically, the accounts are just dumped and people move on to another account as well.
Yeah, and you know, there are people as well with 50,000 followers that have also bought followers, right? This is not an uncommon thing, nor am I saying that he's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that he's buying followers. You know, Leo, you did say that he wasn't. So, I mean, we don't know for certain.
Yeah, and like I prefaced it with, I'm definitely not confirming anything.
Right.
I can say, like, if I was like a betting man, I'm like, have a very high level of certainty that this is just like the standard sort of like engagement farming, a whitelist situation. Literally, there are just a lot of people who want free money, so they're willing to like follow you. And bots will follow you as well. Like, go in. Are you in the Bitcoin Shrooms Discord, Bugsy?
No. Sorry, which room?
It's Bitcoin Shrooms. It's like one of the earliest like sub 1,000 projects. It's like got a 250 supply. If you go in that Discord, there are literally so many real people talking back and forth, because Shroom Toshi basically said, I have like a Discord bot that's counting how much you talk in this Discord. He hasn't posted in that Discord in 2 months. There's still people talking like every minute in that Discord. It's just the things people will do to make money when it's just like, you don't have to, it's like work. It's kind of like how Axie Infinity got 100,000 people in the Philippines to have their full-time job be playing Axie Infinity. People will work on the internet to get money, right? And that's the phenomenon that is happening.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hold on, Bugsy. I want to start calling on some other people so we could kind of move this conversation forward a little bit. I appreciate the insight, and we can still continue it, but I wanted to call on Billy and say, GM, dude, thanks for joining. And always provides some good insights. I'm excited to hear.
What is up, guys? GM, happy Friday. Yeah, I might have a hot take here, actually. Big God for president. What is wild?
Somebody got a fucking whitelist spot. God damn, bro.
Look, it's kind of crazy. How was there not already a influencer called Big God? Let's be honest about that. No, I don't believe he's buying any followers, and I feel like he's kind of fell into, launching the BRRRC20 token, and it's going really well. This model, it really works. Basically, you get insiders to promote it for you, and it's like an exponential rise. you know, I've been on the spaces night after night, and I've literally seen it before my eyes. You know, he goes into literally every space, gets invited up, and they kind of pump it for him. And by the time he even gets to speak about the project, you know, he's just super humble and just talks about the strengths of Bitcoin. So I think he is doing it right. He admitted that like he came, you know, from the ETH side, tired of all the bullshit months ago or whatever. I think he's been a Bitcoiner for a long time. But yeah, I think rallying the ordinals community, look, he's giving people, it's very political. It's a political move to give people something that they want, something for free, make you feel special to where you know, you're not going to paper hand it, you know, it's valuable to you. You are one of the special ones in the community. You're being gifted this thing that other people can't easily get, and there's a lot of demand for. And that model really works. And we've seen other projects and teams do that. I think it works well with a BrrrrrrrrrC20 token because people, it's a little bit more straightforward. I reached out to like the sub 10K projects, some 100K projects, you know, for whitelist for my project. But it's art. Not everyone understands how art is valued. It's not kind of clear, you know, what is a floor or how to compare projects. You know, we see a lot of projects out there that have like wildly different floors, like Inscribed Pepe's 1.4, but very limited volume. Then you have Bitcoin Frogs. It was 0.001 with like a ton of volume. So I think it's more clear. People know what they're getting into with a meme coin. You know, it's going to go up. There's a ton of demand. So I think it's pretty straightforward. People are still pretty wrecked, even though we're like 70% off the lows of Bitcoin. I still think people are licking their wounds and looking for any kind of gain, any kind of green number on the screen where they can kind of take profits and maybe fill that hole, and hopefully kind of flip that into some kind of long lasting, you know, meaningful ordinals on Bitcoin.
Bro, yeah.
Leo, what's up?
Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of clarify one thing because I get that I was going to bat for BitGod here a little bit. Yeah, I have zero affiliation with BitGod. I'm intentionally not taking any sort of whitelist there. Have no affiliation or financial incentive alignment with BitGod.
Leo's lawyer is down in the listeners.
Leo's lawyer has entered the chat.
How this goes? He's doing a super hype thing. It's gonna be like, oh, Leo is promoting it. Like, dude, this is a guy I've known since he had 200 followers. He replied to every tweet I had. I got to know him a little bit, and now he's like a, you know, big kind of influencer in the space somewhat. You know, it's like, dude, I think he's a cool person. So like, that's basically my perspective on it. And I'm just giving like the honest takes here, where I literally think he's just, you know, doing the kind of youth's Taproot Wizard engagement farming because, you know, lots of people want to get free money and get on that whitelist. That's literally all I think's happening.
Yeah. And whoever said, I think it was you, Jake, about the WeChat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people in America need to realize, you know, there's a whole big wide world out there, and people are up at all hours of the day, you know, and they're engaged in crypto. Even the whitelist post, that allow list, whatever, that I put out, you know, out of nowhere, just overnight, I got, you know, I asked people to DM me, like actual real people that reached out with, you know, sentences, not bots, asking for a whitelist, and it just blew up to like 400. Obviously that's capped, but yeah, I think when people identify something that is getting attention, you know, these are hype attention cycles. You know, every week, every day, there's something dominating the attention cycle, and people just kind of, that trend and momentum is really powerful. And I think people are just kind of eager to get on that, stay on that, press that, and kind of be early to these things. 100%.
Yep. Yeah. And I fully agree with you guys. And again, sorry, I maybe I came off a little strong. I'm just saying there are people in the space, and it may not be BitGod, that do try to create a lot of hype and mislead people and, you know, buy a bunch of followers, right? And I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying that does occur, and it is pretty cheap to do so.
Yeah, we agree with you. I don't think anybody disagrees with you.
Yeah, you know, it's always important to talk about those things and kind of think about it. And, you know, I'm not saying that he is. He's a great guy. Like I said, I talked to him. He's awesome. Love the guy, and I wish him luck. So I just thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate it.
Bugsy, if you do want to know people who are buying followers, I can definitely tell you. Like, it's usually extremely obvious, to be honest, because it's
and I think we've all been botted by these bots. I mean, the retweet bots were going crazy. I mean, we saw it when we did, I don't know, we were doing a giveaway with the Emblem account, where, oh my God, dude, it was like full on bottage, not only botting, but like following us and all this sort of stuff. And unfortunately, for like legit accounts like us here, it's like we're trying to grow like people who are actually interested in our stuff, and you realize that long term it kills your engagement too. So it's a bit of a bummer, but you know, it is what it is. I think, you know, yeah, it is what it is. And but yeah, we understand what you're saying, Bugsy.
Yeah,
I will say this about BRRRC20s though. I minted 1,000 ordi, I don't know, I think it was March 9th or something. I recently sold that for $18 per ordi. Like, I'm super bullish on ordinals. I'm super bullish on Bitcoin.
Wait, you only minted 1,000? What kind of fucking rookie are you, bro?
Dude, I fucked up.
You should be retired on your fucking private island. What are you doing, dude?
Yet here I am showing up day after day, pushing my art. I know, I fucked up. But no, like, sure.
Mistakes were made from an account I control. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I only turned $1.90 into $18,000. I'm a complete
FUD.
How am I
That's
gonna
FUD.
tell my wife? How am I gonna tell my wife?
Dude.
No, all seriousness, like, look, I have bags of things, for sure. Like, do I want to hold ordi forever? Sure. Am I gonna get back in? I also, you know, wanted to increase my Bitcoin stack. And, you know, I think with the OXBT, you know, it is what it is. It's fun. I think people are going to make money. And I think BitGod understands that. You know, it's probably going to go up and do maybe similar to what these other tokens are doing. I mean, ordi went to like $23, back down to 15. I mean, you guys have seen what happened with Turbo and Pepe on, you know, ETH tokens. They literally mooned and they're both down like 75%. So yeah, I mean, timing is, it is what it is. But I think the OG move for him would to not have any of the supply and just be like, yeah, I'm really here for the community. I think that would be dope. And that's a big risk. And I thought DGods was going to do something like, I thought we were putting enough pressure on Frank to maybe throw a little bit back to the Ordinal dev team. Like, literally, you know, I talk with some of the devs, and they just tell me how Casey's literally been funding all of this out of pocket since the beginning. You know, he's hiring students. You know, the GitHub is slow. You know, if you're wondering why things aren't getting done, he's like completely slammed with shit. So with my project that's dropping today, I'm trying to raise some money, and the goal is to get at least to pay for Raf's salary for a year, which is not a lot, but yeah, I kind of want to set the precedent that, like, you know, if you like the protocol and you use the protocol, you know, this isn't Phantom Chain where people are putting up bounties for $100 million to develop on it. You know, these guys are literally sacrificing their own time. Ordinally is a fucking genius. He's on the core team and he works for free. So I do want to kind of like send some of this, you know, magic internet money back their way and kind of keep the party going, because I am here for the long haul, even though I paper handed my ordi at the highs.
Hell yeah, Billy the good guy. I do want to call on B Caviar, man. Thanks for being patient this entire time.
100%. Yo, what's up, Bugsy? How's it going? Just wanted to say really quick here, there's a plethora of information, thoughts, ideas that have that I've observed during this conversation. And you know, bot or not, my question is it profitable? I guess I have questions. Is it profitable for how long? And if so, how do I get involved in some of these profits and pull out some equity for myself?
Hey, you got to engagement farm him, man. Right? That's how he's giving it out.
Talk to Billy. He knows how to sell the top, man. Nobody else knows how to do that. Billy's done something that very, very few people know how to do, man.
A little more specific here. And to be more specific, I would say like I have an understanding of what BRRRC20 is, but I don't know where to go and buy one.
Unisat.io or Ordinal's Wallet are the two places to go, I would say. I don't know if there's a third place or not, but
my recommendation, bro, would be just stay away, man. You're going to get wrecked. Everybody's going to get wrecked. Almost everybody except Billy, who was able to sell out, buy himself a nice little beach house.
Okay, all right. Calm down.
Billy is
funny.
the Warren Buffett of this space, by the way.
Dude, I'm just saying, if you don't know really what's going on, I'd say be very, very careful. Look, most of this stuff, it's hype cycles and people who got in, at Mint, who are getting out and selling their bags to you later, and this thing rides down to zero. Be very careful, man. This is what meme coin season is.
I hear about careful, but I don't know if you guys know this. This is like an actual fact that I'm going to say right now. But a lot of people don't know this, but, we're not promised the next day, actually, the next minute or second. So careful is a great idea, but more importantly, if you limit your risk, you can get in just about any damn thing. Like if I want to throw a nickel to somebody and that nickel turns to be 20 bands or 20,000, my apologies. That's quite a good return on a very limited risk. So, I'd be quite interested. So you're saying Ordinal's Wallet is a great place. I can go buy a BRRRC20. And what is Big
Unisat?
Unisat.
Okay. Your Unisat. And then where? My question is, what is BitGod selling? What kind of BRRRC20? What's the name of it that he's selling? And where? And
I love how this turned into a chill space for somebody. Bro,
he's selling hopes and prayers, man. He's selling hopes and prayers.
Genius. It's genius. He can sleep and other people market it for him. Like it's genius.
I would say, honestly, if you want to just copy what he did, man, if you really want to make money, really, learn to market, learn to create community on Twitter, and build your own BRRRC20 and create the hype around it. That's the way to really profit. Everything else is you're likely to get dumped on and possibly lose whatever you put in. And
just for preference, there has been no announcement of any utility for this. The only thing is there's literally an account called the BTC Redacted, which is an NFT project that's powered by OXBT. And that's what it is so far, right? I mean, you have BitGod's community, and he has, as we've mentioned, he was on our spaces 4 months ago. Leo's been hanging out with him for 6 weeks or whatever it took. So he rose to fame, and
I know it's way back in the day, Jake.
Way back, dude.
All the way back to March.
Hey, everybody in here is a BRRRC20 OG. There's no doubt about that, man.
Look, you guys, just in case, since this is recorded, I'm going to say, because we don't know, and I don't like speaking in absolutes, this could absolutely be Beanie from Ethereum basically coming over to teach us all a lesson.
1,000,000%.
And he has a dev that says like, hey, there is actually a way to rug these motherfuckers. Let's go. Look, that's probably like in the low percentage of probabilities, but you can't say that it's not a possibility.
Yeah, there are some sophisticated rugs out there that we've seen. Then it's turned into a Netflix movie. Solana Sweeper, thanks for joining us. What's on your mind?
Yeah, guys, pleasure to be here. All about BRRRC20s and ordinals. My question is,
your name is Solana Sweeper.
Yeah, maybe I need to change the name. If I make $1 million, I might change the name. Let's see. But Ordinal Wallet had already with a negative sign for sale. If I were to buy that, I would have just lost money. Any idea? Did anyone else see that?
I've never seen that before. Leo, have you ever seen that before? Anybody?
Sorry, what are we talking about? I missed it. Sorry.
No, I think he's talking about a different token that was like, trying to work off of the Ordi name, but had a negative sign in it or whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not commenting on the specific token.
Yeah, no, Leo, I'm not asking you. I was trying to clarify with Leo's not allowed to talk about coins. I get it.
Yeah, I can't talk about the
I can
negative.
neither confirm nor deny my massive bags of Ordi.
I've never seen a listing that was negative. Maybe you're getting paid, right? Maybe it was like when oil went negative, they're literally paying you to take it. Take
Yeah,
this
no.
scam off my hands.
It was on Ordinal Wallet, and the Ordi was showing like, if you read the inscription, it was like minus 5,000, and they were trying to sell like 25 Bitcoin worth.
No idea.
I would stay far away for anything that looks out of the usual. I mean,
This sounds like a promising opportunity. I don't know how many more red flags.
Let me just throw my 25 Bitcoin at this thing and just roll the dice.
I mean, to be honest, negative 5,000 actually sounds pretty rare to me, because if most people have plus 5,000, then you don't want to go with the herd. You want something
amazing, bro. Yeah, counterintuitive. That's the way I always roll.
Oh boy.
But no, for real, don't buy that. It's easy to check. Actually, ordinalswallet.com uses Unisat to check. When you're buying BRRRRC20, it's easy to verify. Did they actually, have the amount in the wallet when they inscribe the transfer? Because, if you mint 1,000 Ordi, you can break that up into bits of 100, and it creates all those different inscriptions, which seems kind of spammy, but I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, it's easy to verify if they had the amount, and if not, I think even Ordiscan has like a red icon, and likely Leo's Ord.io will let you know as well.
Interesting. Bugsy, what's going on?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, with all this stuff, I would definitely be careful, right? These are all very speculative tokens, and there's a lot of people hyping them up right now, right? As all hype cycles and things work. So just, do your research and take it slow. And if you want to buy,
no private island for you, bro. Hey. No private island.
Yeah. Sorry, honestly, it's the best policy. What can I say, right? And I think there are a lot of people that are saying, well, this might go to this price and this might go to that price. And just remember, there's no guarantee of that. 100%. And something that you might want to consider is, if we're using Bitcoin a lot more, we're getting more Bitcoin people into Bitcoin. That may affect the Bitcoin price, and it may, send it skyrocketing. The next halving is less than a year away. So maybe instead of considering your profits in dollars, consider them in sats, right? Ordi right now is trading around 70,000 sats per Ordi, but Ordi could be at $100, but it could be less value in terms of sats per Ordi. So that's something that you should really consider. I'm a big Bitcoin maxi, as they say, so maybe I might be a little bit biased there. But I value my time and wealth in Bitcoin, and just be prepared for the next halving and for Bitcoin to potentially rip, because these things will be maybe worth more dollars, but it may not be worth more sats. So and they're all speculative, so just be careful with that.
Listen to Bugsy; he's the real deal. By the way, do you mind if I share? I don't know if you want to keep that private or not, but Bugsy minted a cipher glyph today. He's the real deal. There are some guarantees, like 50% is going back to the Ord team. You have a chance to win an uncommon sat, which is dope as fuck, and you're getting a unique piece of art on Bitcoin forever. So there are guarantees in life. There are.
There you go. Yeah, and just to speak on that as well, I got into ordinals pretty early. I see a few people in the States that also got into ordinals pretty early, but I got in it because I like the art. I'm not here to flip Billy's cipher glyph. I'm here to blow it up and put it on a canvas and put it on my wall. And that's going to be a piece that I'll probably hold forever. And it's not really about the money for me. So coming into the whole BRRRRC20 thing, I really wish we could get back to the art and supporting artists and all of that good, community.
Boring.
Instead of just
when moon, bro. When moon. Stop with this art thing.
Wait, is Adam on the Jake account?
Yeah, we live stream from YouTube during all the shows.
Group wizard shower. That's all I'm hearing.
Fuck
you guys
yeah.
are in the same.
We need to get
room.
showers. It's Friday, guys. Well, it is coming up on 2 hours. I just want to say I'm excited. And one final thing that I've noticed is, dude, the ordinal marketplace wars is underway. Every month or every 2 months, it seems like there's a new person who takes the leaderboard from whatever new technology that comes out. That's one of the fun races that I've been watching, and we'll resume that conversation next week. Adam, any final words before we get out of here?
What an exciting time to be alive, man. It really is. And NFT and crypto space moves at the speed of light. It is absolutely mind-boggling what's happened over the last 3 months. And it's going to be, I mean, I am 100% convinced in a few months we'll be talking about something completely different than this. But what an exciting time. It's incredible. Absolutely exciting. Mafiko, you joined us. I didn't even get to say anything. Any final words? Hello and goodbye.
Man, it's just yeah, everybody be safe out there. I am watching all of this with really keen eyes. What an exciting time to be alive. So everybody stay safe and see you all next week.
Mafiko, before we go, when's your hype report dropping?
Hype report will be dropping, I would say, June 1.
We can neither confirm nor deny that Mafiko is bit god behind a
Mafiko's been doing a academic report on hype in NFT space. Been working on it for quite some time. He's our educator and our academic. Excited to see that when it drops. All right, everybody, have a good Friday. Be safe, and we'll catch you next week. Don't get rugged, and have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Dude, buy something nice for your mom on Sunday. Come on, take